Shivaya, sir.
Om Sadashiva-Samārambhām Shankara-Acharya-Madhyamām Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Om Sahana-Vavatu Sahana-Bhunaktu Saha-Viryam Karavāvahai Tejasvinavadītam Mahavidvishāvahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. So today we are looking at the start of a new chapter, the fifth one. So before starting that, if you recall the discussions in the second, third and fourth chapters, there were two main topics. One was regarding the sadhana and one was regarding the lifestyle. So we had said, especially in the third chapter, that everyone can choose a lifestyle. So there is a choice with regarding to the lifestyle, which means you can choose to be going through a life of karma or a life of jnanam, or rather nivritti, pravritti, a life of activity or a life of withdrawal. So the pravritti life is the grahastha life, the householder life, and the nivritti, the withdrawal life, is the life of the sannyasi. So these two nishthas, we called it, nishthas, they can be choice. There is choice between the two. You can choose to be a grahastha, you can choose to be a sannyasi. However, whichever lifestyle you choose, whether you are a grahastha or a sannyasi, the sadhana is the same. You have to go through karma yoga, upasana yoga and jnana yoga. Basically, upasana yoga is also broadly classified under karma yoga. So you have to go through karma yoga and you have to go to jnana yoga also. There is no choice with regard to these two sadhanas. And why is that so? Because karma yoga is the means and jnana yoga is the end. So karma yoga brings you to jnana yoga. Jnana yoga brings you to jnanam, which is moksha. So you can never talk about a choice between the means and the end. So karma yoga is the means, jnana yoga is the end. And jnana yoga is the means and moksha is the end. So there is never a choice between means and ends. You can have a choice between two types of means, but you cannot have a choice between the means and the end. So between the sadhana and the sadhyam, there is no choice. You can choose which type of sadhana you want to do. So if a person wants to choose between two pants, he can choose. This pant is better, that pant is better. And if he has two shirts, then he can stand up and say, this shirt is better or that shirt is better. But he doesn't have a choice between a shirt and a pant. He has to wear both. So similarly, between karma yoga and jnana yoga, you have no choice because they are different. One is the means, karma yoga is the means, jnana yoga is the end. You don't have a choice there. Whoever wants to have to come to jnana yoga needs chitta shuddhi, and karma yoga is the means for chitta shuddhi. So the question of should I follow karma yoga or jnana yoga, it is a meaningless question, which is what Arjuna was asking. And karma yoga is the sadhanam, is this sadhana to come to jnana yoga. And once you come to jnana yoga also, you cannot say that I will choose between jnana yoga and moksha, because jnana yoga then becomes the tool, the sadhana for the sadhyam, which is moksha, liberation. So with regard to karma yoga, jnana yoga is the destination, or chitta shuddhi is the destination. And with regard to moksha, jnana yoga is the means. So in the second chapter, Krishna clarified that karma yoga leads to jnana yoga and jnana yoga leads to liberation. This is one part of the teaching. This is the teaching from the angle of sadhana. And Krishna taught this because otherwise people tend to think that karma yoga and jnana yoga are alternative means of liberation. And a lot of people still talk about, if you are an active person, you can attain moksha through karma. If you're an intellectual person, you can attain moksha through jnanam. So this kind of talk goes on. And Shankaracharya says very clearly that karma yoga cannot take you to moksha. It can only take you to chitta shuddhi. Taking you to chitta shuddhi means it's another way of saying that it will take you to jnana yoga. And jnana yoga will take you to knowledge, which is another way of saying that jnana yoga will take you to moksha. So this is the one part of the teaching, and that is regarding the sadhana. Then there is another part of the teaching with regarding the lifestyles. Because a person can lead two types of lifestyles. The pravritti lifestyle, where he is active in society. The nivritti lifestyle, where he is a secluded person, he is withdrawn from society. So life of activity, as we said, is called grihastha ashrama. The life of withdrawal is called Sanyasa ashrama. And therefore, these two ashramas are the two paths which you can choose, which every human being can choose whether he wants to lead a life of activity in grihastha ashrama or lead a life of withdrawal in Sanyasa ashrama. And with regard to this particular lifestyle, the Sanskrit word is nishtha. So the second topic in the Gita is the nishtha. And he can choose to become a grihastha, you can choose to become a sannyasi, but as we said earlier also, whatever choice you make, in both the ashramas, you have no choice but to go through karma and through jnanam also. So take to any ashrama, but follow your swadharma. Following swadharma is called karma yoga. And by following swadharma, what will happen? By following that swadharma as a offering to the Lord, you convert your duties to karma yoga. And when that happens, you will get chitta shuddhi. You will smoothly come to jnana yoga. And what is the right way? You have to approach a teacher and do a self-inquiry. The grihastha must also approach a teacher and inquire into the scriptures. The sannyasi must also approach a teacher and inquire into the scriptures. There is no choice about this. These two lifestyles have got their own pros and cons. In grihastha lifestyle, there are, you can follow panchamaha yajna, you can do a lot of noble service to society, you can be a useful person, and you have areas where you can work on your raga dvesha. You can satisfy raga to some extent. So these are the positive parts. What are the minus parts in a grihastha ashrama? You have responsibility. So any responsibility, wife responsibility, child responsibility. So you have anxiety over there, which eats into your availability of mental peacefulness. So that is also there. That is a negative part of it. You have responsibility. So enough time is not there for studies. You have to extract whatever little time is possible after fulfilling all your duties, your responsibilities. So there are pros and there are cons in the grihastha ashrama. In sannyasa ashrama, what is there? There is no responsibility, no wife, no husband, no children. You need not bother. You are an ashrama, so if you get hungry, somebody will give you food. So there is no responsibility. But what is the minus point? There is no security. It's a minus point. While in the grihastha ashrama, you are secure because you earn, you have emotional support, all that is there. This is the confusion which was there in Arjuna's mind, which lifestyle to choose. Whether sannyasa is better or grihastha ashrama is better. And after all the teaching, what happens? He still has that confusion. And this is how the 5th chapter begins. So we will chant the first verse of that chapter. Atha panchamodhyayah Sanyasa yogah Arjuna uvacha Sanyasam karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shamsasi
पुनर्योगं च शंससि
यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकम्
यच्छ्रेययोरेकम्
तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्
तन्मे ब्रूहि निश्चितम्.
Okay. So look at the words. Arjuna Ovacha. Krishna, hey Krishna, Karmanam Sanyasam Punaha Yogam cha Shamsasi. Hey Krishna, you are praising both, karma and sannyasa, right? Both you have praised. Prashamsa you have done. Then, etayoho, out of these two, yat shreyaha, whichever is better for me, tad ekam me sunischitam bruhi. May you please tell me out of these two, which one is better for me? So, sannyasam, karmanam. Sannyasam is renunciation. Karmanam sannyasam is renunciation of action. So he says this, renunciation of action, punaha, and again, yogam cha. Yogam cha and yoga also, shamsasi. So this shamsasi, you have to be careful while reading. It is not samshayaha. It is not samshayaha, it is shamsasi. Shamsasi is to praise. So he's saying you are praising both sannyasa, karmanam sannyasa, that is renunciation of action you are praising, and yoga, karma yoga you are praising, which means you are praising both action and the renunciation of the action. You are praising both. I am confused, Hey Krishna. Yat Shreya, which one is better for me? Tadekam, that one. Don't tell me both. That one thing you tell me which is better for me. Sunishchitam bruhi me. Please definitely say which one is better for me. Okay. So yogam shamsasi. This karma nishtha, the life of a grahastha, the pravritti lifestyle you have praised. Where has he praised? Chapter 4. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashayaha karmanya abhipravartopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. So he says the jnanis, the grahastha jnani, who is also a glorious person, he is able to live like the lotus leaf in water. He lives in the middle of all the activity and in the middle of all the relationships, but it doesn't touch him. That is he is praising the life of a grahastha jnani, which means he is praising what? He is praising karma yoga. Whereas in the very next verse, so this tyaktva karma phala sangam is the 20th verse of the 4th chapter. In the very next verse, which is the 21st verse, he says, Nirashira yata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan apnoti kilbisham. Tyakta sarva parigraha. One who has given up all possessions and relationships, which is the lifestyle of a sannyasi, that also you glorify, Hey Krishna. Your teaching is full of contradictions, Hey Krishna, and therefore I am confused. So, yat etayo shreyaha, between these two lifestyles, you cannot ask me to do both, because one person cannot do both. So, tell me which one is better. And I cannot follow both also, because one is, karma oriented, life full of activity, which is grahastha ashrama, and one is sannyasa ashrama, which is life full of withdrawal, only full of pursuing jnanam. So if I stay in society, Hey Krishna, to be withdrawn, to be secluded is not possible. And if I stay in seclusion, Hey Krishna, I cannot be in society. Therefore, how can I follow both? Why are you telling me? Why are you praising both of them? Necessarily, I have to choose one of the two, and therefore, between these two lifestyles, etayoho. Etayo is what? Between the two nishthas, between the two lifestyles, which is between grahastha ashrama and sannyasa ashrama. Carefully note, it is not between sadhanas. The choice is not between karma yoga and jnana yoga. It is between the life of activity, which is the householder life, the grahastha ashrama, and the life of withdrawal, which is the sannyasi life. Etayoho, between these two nishthas, tell me ekam, which one is better? So you have to tell me which is better, sannyasa or karma yoga, right? This you have to tell me, because they cannot be followed. And Shankara adds here, ekena. By one person, both cannot be followed at the same time, right? So Shankara is making it clear that Krishna has to necessarily tell him which one to follow at the moment, karma yoga or sannyasa. And therefore, now here, when Arjuna talks about karma yoga or sannyasa, if you look at all the discussions we've had in the past, we talked about two types of sannyasa. One is vidvat sannyasa and one is vividesha sannyasa. What are these two types? What is vidvat and what is vividesha? Anybody?
Vidvat is when you know, you do it by choice, out of knowledge. And Vidhivat is when you work for it.
Vividesha.
Vidisha.
Anybody else?
I think Vividisha is when one makes a choice to study the scriptures and takes the sannyasa.
Okay.
And Vidvat is once he becomes a jnani, he decides to leave everything and take up sannyasa.
Very good. So Vidvat is when you have become a jnani, and then what do you want to do when you become a jnani? You want to, so this is a very important point here. What is the job of a jnani? To remain in that nishtha that I am Brahman, because becoming a jnani means what? Knowing that I am Brahman. So what is the job of a jnani? He has to continuously tell himself that I am Brahman, right? That is called nididhyasanam. So vidvat sannyasa is the choice made by a jnani that I am Brahman, and let me spend the rest of my life contemplating on these teachings, reminding myself that I am Brahman. So vidvat sannyasa is always for nididhyasanam, and therefore there is no karma at all over there. No karma possible at all, because when you are Brahman, how can you be doing anything at all? So vidvat sannyasa's objective is nididhyasanam. While the karma yogi's destination is what? Chitta Shuddhi, and therefore Shravanam and Mananam. Therefore, karma yoga and vidvat sannyasa, they have different goals. Remember, karma yoga's goal is Chitta Shuddhi, vidvat sannyasa's goal is nididhyasana. And therefore, we should remember that in Shastram, whenever these two are presented, whenever two sadhanas are presented as alternatives, karma and sannyasa, you have to remember that they are talking about vividesha sannyasa only. They cannot possibly be talking about vidvat sannyasa. Why? Because karma and sannyasa, that is vividesha sannyasa, are both meant for ajnanis. The ajnani does karma to come to chitta shuddhi, and once having got chitta shuddhi, he wants to pursue jnanam. He wants to devote his attention full time to jnanam. He wants to be free of responsibilities, and therefore he takes sannyasa for the purpose of studying the scriptures. That is called vividesha sannyasa. So whenever karma and sannyasa are being presented as alternatives, which we saw in the third chapter also, remember that we are talking about vividesha sannyasa and not vidvat sannyasa. So karma yoga's destination is chitta shuddhi. Another way of saying it, another way of defining chitta shuddhi is approaching shravanam and mananam. The objective of taking vividesha sannyasa is also to approach shravanam and mananam, and therefore either one can be chosen as a path. And therefore Arjuna can ask, Yat Shreya Etayoho, which is better for me? Should I do karma yoga, or should I take sannyasa for the purpose of pursuing jnanam? That is the real question over here. And that is why Arjuna says, Sunishitam tanme brui. So this kind of analysis we see only in Shankaracharya's commentary. So once having said, please teach me again, or please tell me very clearly, tanme tat me bruhi sunishitam, please tell me very clearly, very definitely which one I should do. So Krishna has to start all over again the teaching, because it's very clear that Arjuna has not really understood. So before going on to the starting of the teaching, which is the next verse, let us look at what constitutes the mindset of a karma yogi. So we can say there are 7 different parameters, okay, or attitudes. One is kartrutvam, which means what? I am a doer. That karma yogi has always got the thought, I am a doer. And because he has got the thought that I am a doer, there is a karma sambandha bhavana. I am connected to the karma belongs to me. So kartrutvam, karma sambandha bhavana, and then the karma belongs to me, and what am I doing with the karma? I am offering it to the Lord as an offering. Therefore, third one is Easwara arpana bhavana. Once I have offered to the Lord, what happens? The results, the karma phalam come to me from the Lord. So there is bhoktritvam, that I experience the fruits of the karma also. And therefore, phala sambandha bhavana. Having done the karma which belongs to me, even though I have offered it to the Lord, there is a connection with the fruits also. So kartatvam, karma sambandha bhavana, Ishvara arpana bhavana, bhoktritvam, and phala sambandha bhavana, that I have a connection with the phalam also. And since the phalam comes from Ishvara, Ishvara prasada buddhi also. Right? There are 6 of them, which means what? That Ishvara is the Lord and I am the servant, I am the devotee. So dasa bhavana is also there, that Ishvara is superior and I am his devotee who is an inferior being. So these 7 bhavanas, 7 attitudes are the mindset of a yogi. Whereas for a person who has gone through nididhyasanam, he has gone through shravanam and mananam, he has understood that he is Brahman, and now he wants to be a nididhyasu, the person who is going to do nididhyasanam for the rest of your life. So this is vidvat sanyasa. What does he do? What is attitude? There is no kartrutvam, number 1. Since there is no doership, no karma sambandha bhavana is there, no phala sambandha bhavana is there, no bhoktrutvam is there, no Ishvara arpana bhavana is there, no Ishvara prasada buddhi is there, and the approach is soham, I am the Lord. Right? So the first one for a karma yogi was what? Kartrutvam. For a jnana yogi, it is no kartrutvam. The second one for a karma yogi was karma sambandha bhavana. I have a connection with the fruit. For the jnani, it is I do not have any connection with the karma at all. So where is the question of the connection with the fruits? So no karma sambandha bhavana, no phala sambandha bhavana. And since there is no connection with the fruits, I am not a bhokta. I am not an experiencer. So no bhoktrutvam. Since the karma doesn't belong to me, no Ishvara arpana bhavana, there is nothing to offer anybody. Since the phalam doesn't belong to me, no Ishvara prasada buddhi, phalam is not mine, no phalam is mine. And therefore, soham bhavana, there is no Lord who is superior to me, I am the Lord himself. Right? So these are the thoughts that we have. So Shankara refers to all this simply by saying mithya jnanam. In one word mithya jnanam, he takes this 7 mindset of a karma yogi and 7 mindset of a jnana yogi. And he says that during nididhyasanam, if any of these thoughts are there, the thoughts of the first set of the karma yogi, those thoughts or those qualities which are a must for a sadhaka, right? For a sadhaka, kartritvam, karma sambandha bhavana, Ishvara arpana bhavana, bhoktritvam, phala sambandha bhavana, Ishvara prasada buddhi, dasa bhavana, all these are a must for a sadhaka because sadhaka has the Lord as the superior entity. Right? But Shankara says that during Nididhyasanam, all these qualities which are essential for a sadhaka, for a karma yogi, they will become an obstruction for a person who's a Nididhyasu, who is doing Nididhyasanam. Because in Nididhyasanam, what is most important? You should have self-confidence. Atma Kripa is very important. And therefore, who will decide that I am ready for Nididhyasanam? Only I can decide. Nobody else can decide for me. I have to understand, have I learned to claim myself as Atma? This is the question which I have to ask myself. Do I claim myself as Atma or Brahman? And when I do that, is that Brahman free of Kartrutvam and Bhoktritvam? Which is to say, do I claim myself as being free from doership and experiencership, free of Kartrutvam and Bhoktritvam? So Shankara uses the word Nishkriya Atma. The word Nishkriyam indicates freedom from those 7 conditions which he talked about for the Karma Yogi. And therefore, for the person doing Nididhyasanam, it's a very drastic statement that we are making. For the person doing Nididhyasanam, Ishvara Arpanam, Bhavana, Ishvara Prasada Bhavana, they are all obstacles. They are enemies for you. This is only for the consumption of Vedantic student. Okay, you should not repeat this outside. That is why Vedanta is not taught to very many people, because Vedanta ultimately, rejects the values which come in Dharma Shastra, like being a good devotee, all these values it devotes. It negates. So Nididhyasanam consists of deliberately entertaining all the 7 thoughts which are in direct opposition to the Karma Yogi's thoughts. So we saw that I am not a Karta, I am not a Bhokta, I have no Karma Sambandha, I have no Karma Phala Sambandha. All these thoughts should deliberately entertain during your Nididhyasana. And when you do that, such Nididhyasanam is nothing but Vidvat Sanyasa. Okay, it is entirely a mental activity, entirely an inner activity. There is absolutely no need. In fact, many say that you should not bring about a change in your external life. So if your external life as a sadhaka, karma yogi, includes religious rituals, there is no need to discontinue those rituals. Right? Why? Because the change is entirely internal. And by discontinuing those rituals, you might upset other people. You might upset your family members, you might upset your neighbors. Don't do that. In fact, if you look at all the Shankara mats, they have extensive religious rites. Their religious activity is very extensive, even though all of them are into Nididhyasana. So please remember that for a Nididhyasu, for a person who is doing Nididhyasanam, the absence of the 7 factors, so karma, yoga, abhava, the absence of the seven factors is essential to be able to do proper Nididhyasanam. Karma will continue, but not as karma which will bind you, but as non-binding karma, which you will tell yourself, or you will understand that you are not doing it, the body is doing it. It's called karma abhasa, as if karma. Like the snake without a fang, it doesn't have the capacity to bind you. You continue to do puja because if you're a grahastha, you're a family member, you're a father, you're a mother, you don't want to continue that, discontinue that, because it will provide a negative impact on your children, or on your neighbors, or on your parents. Therefore, you can continue to do your puja, but in the puja when you are doing, you have to remind yourself that I am a Nididhyasaka, and for me, these pujas are not relevant. I am doing them only as a role model. As Krishna said, for lok sangraham purposes. Because every person has a role to play. That role should not be disturbed. Remember that the other sannyasa, Vividisha sannyasa, where you take sannyasa for the purpose of studying the scriptures, invariably comes along with the saffron clothes, with the sannyasis, kashaya vastram as they say, saffron clothes. But the Vidvat sannyasi, he may or may not have one, because it's not important to him at all. He can take formal sannyasa if he wants to be completely undisturbed. But in any case, his the main activity in thinking is what? That I am a Sangha, I am Brahman. And therefore, relationship should not be able to disturb you. If you are doing that, you need not take formal sannyasa. You can be a householder, but a Vidvat sannyasi. Therefore, becoming a Nididhyasaka, a Nididhyasu, one person who is doing a lot of Nididhyasanam, is a major step in my spiritual life, in my spiritual sadhana. And a lot of introspection, analysis needs to be done before taking that step. Okay. Also remember that in the Bhagavad Gita, usually when people talk, lay people who have not studied Vedanta, when they talk about the Bhagavad Gita, they usually equate the main teaching of the Gita as karma. Right? You take the motto of the Indian Army, karma hi dharma. Karma itself is dharma. It's an extraction of that your Gita is teaching karma. But here we are saying that Krishna is negating karma, right? And Shankara gives a few quotes, which I will read to you. Okay. To establish this fact, Shankara gives a few quotes. One is from the, in fact, three are from the second chapter. So, antavanta eme dehaha nityasyokta shariranaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. That is one. Avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhati. Enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hantina hanyate. Veda vinashinam nityam cha enam ajam avyayam katham sapurashav partha kam ghatayati hantikam. I hope you remember all these. And Shankara doesn't quote from any other chapter, but we can look at the third chapter, which we have also finished. And you can look at the 27th verse. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. And tattavittu mahabhaho gunakarma vibhagayoho gunaguneshu vartante eti matva sajjate. And in the fourth chapter also, which we finished, we saw these same ideas, which is what? Karmanya karma yapashed akarmani cha karma yaha sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayukta krishna karma krita yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagnidagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. And of course, brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagno brahmanautam brahmaivatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. All these verses are there to to establish the idea. What is the takeaway from the discussion? That the fourth chapter, it deals with what kind of sannyasa? If you look at Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, that itself gives you that. That is one. You look at the Karmanya Karmaya Pasyet. These two verses, when you look at, which sannyasa does the fourth chapter deal with?
Vidvat.
Vidvat sannyasa.
Vidvat.
But in the fifth chapter, even though that chapter very clearly deals with Vidvat sannyasa, in the beginning, as we saw, Arjuna said, is there a choice between Karma Yoga and Vivadisha sannyasa? This is the beginning of the chapter. Sanyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam samsasi. That is basically saying what? It is saying, choose for me, hey Krishna. Is karma yoga better or is Vivadisha sannyasa better? Remember we said the objective karma yoga is chitta shuddhi, which is jnana yoga basically. And the objective of Vivadisha sannyasa is also jnana yoga. So both karma yoga and Vivadisha sannyasa are for the purpose of entering into a study of the scriptures. If you look at it, Vivadisha sannyasa is giving up of Vedic rituals. Karma yoga is performance of Vedic rituals. And then that is why Arjuna is confused. He thinks the two are opposed to each other because one is performance of Vedic rituals and one is non-performance or giving up Vedic rituals. And here we say Vedic rituals because Shankara adds very clearly here that when Arjuna says karma, he means Shastriya karma. This is the background. With this background, we will look at the second verse. We will chant. Okay, before we go ahead, any questions so far? Because the difference needs to be understood. Why is it that Arjuna asking the question? He is not totally ignorant. He knows the objective is one. So that's what he's asking. Which one should I do? Okay. Now we look at verse number 2. Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Bhagavanuvacha
Sanyasa Karma Yogascha
Sanyasa Karma Yogascha
Nishreyasa Karavabhau
Nishreyasakarabhau
Tayostu Karma Sanyasat
Tayostu
Karma Yogo Vishishyate. So Krishna begins a very elaborate reply. So the Anvaya will be Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasaha Cha Karma Yogaha Ubhau Nishreyasa Karau Tayoho Tu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogaha Vishishyate. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Lord said, Sanyasa cha karma yoga, both the nishthas, the life of withdrawal and the life of karma, ubhau, both of them, nishreyasa karau, lead to moksha. And tayoho tu, but out of the two, karma sanyasat, the renunciation of karma, karma yoga vishishyate. So Karma yoga is better. Karma sannyasat is better. Karma yoga, karma sannyasat vishishyate. Karma yoga is better than karma sannyasa. And you have to add over in your own mind, for you, hey Arjuna. Not for everybody, but since he is talking to Arjuna, he is saying, hey Arjuna, for you, karma yoga is better than sannyasa. Even though sannyasa and karma yoga both lead to moksha, for you, Karma Yoga is the recommended course of action right now. So why does Krishna say this? Because this is not what Arjuna has asked. What does Arjuna asked? He says, tell me which is better for me. So Shankara is saying now that he says Krishna gives his own view. Swa-abhiprayam he gives. For what? Nirnayaha, for the purpose of helping Arjuna to make a decision, for the purpose of helping Arjuna to choose. So remember, as a teacher, you should only, as a teacher, any spiritual teacher, when he is asked a question about what should I do by a student, he should not impose his view. He should simply say, these are the pros, advantages of doing of this particular course of action, and these are the disadvantages. So he takes as many courses of actions that are available, and he lists out the pros and cons of each of these courses of action, and then the student should choose. The teacher should never give his own preferences. But Krishna here is doing so. And this verse, therefore, is Krishna's viewpoint of the whole thing. And Shankara says that Krishna is doing this. He's going against the normal, behavior of a teacher, because he wants Arjuna to make a decision. And it's for helping Arjuna to make a decision, which means the decision finally has to be made by Arjuna only. So Krishna is pointing out that both ashrams are equally good, because each ashram will have, either of the ashram will have pluses and minuses. So in fact, every ashram in the world has got pluses and minuses, and this is the nature of the universe. There will always be two sides of everything. And that is why in Vedanta we call the world as Dvanda. Nothing in creation can be absolutely good or absolutely bad. Everything in creation will have minus points. Everything in creation will have plus points. We all know, right? All sort of debates about rented house versus own house, summer versus winter, become a sannyasi versus becoming a grahastha. All debates are always there. So he says, Sanyasaha karma yogaha ubhau nishreyasa karau. Both ashramas are equally good, and both will end up in giving you moksha. So the karma yoga sadhana is there, jnana yoga sadhana is there, both are good. In grahastha ashrama, karma yoga can be efficiently followed because the avenues for doing that karma are more. But the route to jnana yoga in grahastha ashrama is more difficult, because more obstacles are there. Since for jnana yoga, one requires an undistracted life. One requires more and more time, which is not always available in grahastha ashrama. Therefore, in karma yoga is easily followed in grahastha ashrama. It's more difficult to follow jnana yoga because there are obstacles. So in grahastha ashrama, you have, any duty which you have can be seen as an obstacle because it uses up your time. So attend this wedding, attend that wedding, go to the funeral, visitors are there, somebody is phoning you, children are there, they have to take to school, all those things are there, right? So there is no time for jnanam. And therefore in grahastha ashrama, karma yoga is the ideal way to get chitta shuddhi. For jnana yoga, you do not have too much of quiet time. While in sannyasa yoga, and here remember, this sannyasam is vividisha sannyasa. Okay, this sannyasam is vivadisha sannyasa, not vidvat sannyasa. In fact, if you look at, in Ashtavakra Gita, there's a very famous quote where, he says that the one who wants to take sannyasa is actually an ignorant man. He's talking about vidvat sannyasa. So he says, if the jnani wants to take sannyasa, then the jnani is ignorant. Do you know why he says that? Yes. A jnani can only take vidvat sannyasa, right? He's already a jnani. So if he's wanting to take vidvat sannyasa, that man is ignorant. He has not understood properly. Why?
There is actually nothing to take.
No need. No.
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
There is
He
no
doesn't.
concept of sannyas in already a person who knows that he's Brahman.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's the point. Why?
He's still attached to the ahamkara, and he thinks
I'm
that
saying he's a
he
jnani.
is Sanyasa.
Everything
If
is he. There's nothing to give.
if he's constantly
Yeah, he
established in
doesn't.
Brahman, then
So,
it's just a transaction.
exactly. In a jnani is, what is the vision of a jnani? That he is everything.
Aham
Right.
Brahmas.
Since aham brahmasmi, I am everything. Since I am everything, I don't have anything. Do you understand the logic? I am everything. I don't own anything. So what is there to give up? So a Vidvat sannyasi who wants to take a person, a jnani who wants to take Vidvat sannyasa, he says he is ignorant because he doesn't know that there is nothing to renounce. And therefore the word Vidvat sannyasa itself is an oxymoron. Each word is opposed to each other, right? So if I say I have jnanam, I know that I don't anything. I am everything. How can I say I want to take sannyasa? There is a viewpoint from Acharya Gita, which we'll do hopefully sometime. So this person, he has to manage with limited activities like japa, puja, etc. in sannyasa ashram, and therefore there are certain advantages in following sadhanas and certain disadvantages in following other sadhanas. But Krishna says in both of them, you can follow both the sadhanas with sufficient effort, sufficient care. You can follow both the sadhanas, and nishreyasa, you can get moksha in both ashramas. You can follow both the sadhanas and get moksha. So it's a very clear statement that grahastha can also get moksha and sannyasi can also get moksha, providing they follow both karma yoga and jnana yoga. And since the benefit given by both the ashramas is the same, how can you talk about any ashrama being inferior or superior? A lot of people always say sannyasa ashrama is superior. The idea here is Krishna is saying, how can you talk about that? Because both ashramas give you the same benefit. Then why do you choose? Because when you look at your own nature, then you can say that for a particular person, one ashrama, one type of ashrama will be more beneficial. It is safer for him. You know, like in school, when you are asked to choose between maths and biology, how do you choose? Even though maths and biology are both good, you choose depending upon your mental makeup. Which one you like better, which one you can handle better, which is better group for me. Similarly, Shastra talks about one who is better equipped mentally and by nature to take up sannyasa ashrama or to take up grahastha ashrama. So if that mental makeup is there, if that nature is there, sannyasa ashrama can be wonderful. But if that mental makeup is not there, sannyasa ashrama can be terrible because you have no way to engage your ragadvesha. Sanyasa ashrama by itself is neither dangerous, it is neither wonderful, nor is it terrible. But if you are not prepared for it, it can be terrible for you. And if you are prepared for it mentally, it can be wonderful for you. And since the majority of the people in this world are not equipped for sannyasa, for renunciation, for not handling, for being able to manage the ragadveshas, most people are not equipped. And therefore Krishna puts Arjuna in that majority and says that for you, hey Arjuna, grahastha ashrama is safer. And therefore tayostu karma sannyasa, karma yoga vishishyate. Hey Arjuna, for you, grahastha ashrama is superior and a better life than karma sannyasa, sannyasa ashrama. And Shankara adds over here to indicate that it is Vividisha sannyasa. Shankara wants to be clear that Krishna is talking about Vividisha sannyasa and not Vidvat sannyasa. So he says Kevala sannyasa, he adds over here. Kevala sannyasa means only sannyasa without knowledge, which means what? That you don't have the knowledge and you are taking sannyasa to come to knowledge. And therefore it is Vivadisha sannyasa. For whom? For most of the people, which is where Arjuna has been classified by Krishna. And that is why in the Veda also you will find that there are some instructions which are the general rule for everybody, entire humanity. And there is a particular rule for people who are exceptional, who can fit outside that general rule. So to take an example, the general rule is that from Grihastha ashrama, the majority of people go to Brahmacharya ashrama. But the exception is what? The person who is prepared from Brahmacharya itself, he can take sannyasa ashrama. And when a person wants to do that, Shastra says this can be done. That a person who is prepared mentally, who has the necessary chitta shuddhi, can go from Brahmacharya ashrama to sannyasa ashrama. But he needs to carry out this transition with the help of his guru. And the guru who has known him for some time has to agree that he is mentally prepared for this journey. The greatest risk in sannyasa ashrama is, you know what? It's a one-way traffic. The escalator goes only one way and there is no staircase to come back. So it's an irreversible decision. And whenever one takes an irreversible decision in life, one should weigh the pros and cons thoroughly, understand everything, and then only take a decision. So Krishna says, Tayostu, between the two ashramas, karma sannyasat better than sannyasa ashrama, karma yoga vishishyate. Grihastha ashrama is better for you, hey Arjuna. And here Arjuna represents the majority of the people, and therefore Krishna is saying that for the majority of people, Grihastha ashrama is the preferred choice. Because remember that in that ashrama also you can do karma and you can come to Jnana Yoga. And that is why it is said that Bhagavad Geeta is meant for the general public, for the majority of people, whereas the Upanishads always address the person who is mentally prepared. The Upanishads are meant for people who have got Chitta Shuddhi, the mature people. That is why you will find that in Upanishad, sannyasa is always glorified. While in Gita, Krishna says very clearly again and again that Grihastha ashrama is better for you. So the people being addressed are different. In fact, in most of the commentaries, when Shankaracharya says Manushyaha, for Shankaracharya, if you are a Manushyaha, you are a sannyasi. If you are not a sannyasi, you are not a Manushya. While Gita is very good for the majority of people because the Gita teacher himself is a Grihastha, right? Krishna himself is a Grihastha. And not only a Grihastha, he is a Mahagrihastha. Why? 16,008 wives. So Mahagrihastha. And Arjuna, the student, is also not any less. He has wives wherever he goes. He is also Mahagrihastha. So indicating that this is meant for, the teaching is meant for the general public, the Grihasthas, whose minds have not yet achieved the necessary level of Chitta Shuddhi to take sannyasa. In fact, Vyasacharya is also Grihastha. So teaching Grihastha, compiled by Grihastha, and therefore this text is ideal to teach to the majority of people. So Krishna says, Karma Yoga Vishishyate. Karma Yoga is conducive to you, to moksha, more than Jnana Yoga, for you, hey Arjuna. Now remember that Shankara has a different viewpoint. I said for Shankara, anybody who is a human being is a sannyasi. So Shankara doesn't accept this viewpoint very clearly, and he says, he adds a comment. He says, when Krishna says Karma Yoga Vishishyate, when Krishna says that when Karma Yoga is better, Shankara says he is only glorifying sannyasa. Iti Karma Yoga Sthavati. He is only glorifying Grihastha. So this particular statement, Shankara adds, is not Pramana Vakyam, it is Arthavada Vakyam. So Arthavada Vakyam is a statement which is meant for glorification, not a statement of teaching. So here, of course, he differs because Shankara's idea is that sannyasis are the best for the purpose of jnanam. So the Shankara's way of saying that, okay, I agree, jnanam can also be, obtained in the Grihastha ashram, but, it is like using a butter knife to cut vegetables. The butter knife will do the job, but the job is done much more efficiently using kitchen knife. Therefore, Grihastha ashram will do the job of giving you jnanam, but it is not the most efficient way. Then why does Krishna say Karma Yoga Vishishyate? That answer will come in the next sloka, which we will do in the next class. This will stop. Any questions?
Om Raviji, can this also be taken as contextual because it is on the battleground that Krishna wants Arjuna to be motivated to do his Kshatriya duties through Karma Yoga rather than going for Sannyasa Yoga?
No, it is basically to do with your own character. If Arjuna was sattvic by nature, Krishna would have said, you leave the battle and take sannyasa.
Right. And sir, this is a question which is not directly connected, but when one takes sannyasa, the name which is given, like everything is destroyed, like you mentioned once, passport is new, the parents are the guru, Is the name also given by the Guru?
Yeah, name is given by the Guru.
Right.
The name is dependent upon which tradition the Guru belongs to. Each of the mutts have different, like one is the Saraswatis, or they're all different.
Right.
Yes, Pandana.
Acharya,
Oh, Mama.
what is the caveat because of which in this verse the teacher is giving a definite opinion and not presenting the options?
Because Arjuna has been taught for 4 chapters and he's still not made a decision. So Krishna is saying, okay, now let me express my opinion. And maybe he'll follow that and make a decision. But as it turns out, it doesn't. For the next up to chapter 17, he goes on asking. Up to chapter 18, he goes on asking.
Right, thank you.
So very beautiful little start. And, this verse is the name Sanyasa Yoga itself, the chapter indicates that we're going to talk a lot about Jnana. So with this, we'll stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Devavasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Tat Sat,
Thank you,
Om Namah
Acharya.
Shivaya.
Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Acharya.